morning, Boquete. Good morning, Chiriqui. It is October 3rd, 2020, and you are listening to Talking with Your Doctor on Radio Chiriqui 103.3. And I'm here with Al Stefanelli, our host on this very same station of Boquete Now, Talk Radio. He's on Friday mornings. Hey, Al, how's it going?
Hello, it's going real well. Thank you for inviting me to the show. I appreciate it.
You're
something
welcome.
Interesting to do on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, and since, we're kind of doing a continuation of yesterday's show, your show, because really you ran out of time quickly.
I did. A lot of people think that an hour on a radio is a long time. And, my shows, when I was doing live radio talk shows up north, they were 3-hour shows.
Yeah.
And they went by quick.
When you get it, you're getting calls in and getting people commenting, and that kind of spurs on the conversation some more. And
Absolutely.
You were actually getting some pretty good information out there and receiving some good information. Yeah. And before I forget, October 3rd, this is my nephew Austin Richmond's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Austin!
Happy birthday, Austin. He turned 17 today.
Ooh.
Yeah. Tia loves you. Be good. Have a great day. I'm pretty sure he's listening out there. If he's not, he'll hear it later. Anyway, so anybody that wants to call into the show, we're going to continue talking about the debate and kind of a little bit of, the drama that happened after the debate, which was Trump getting diagnosed with COVID.
Yep. Life, yeah.
We're finding out nobody's untouchable. Nobody's untouchable. No. So if you guys want to call in with your questions, comments about the debate, about COVID, about anything at all, call us at 6-729-5729. And either of us will be glad to listen to your comments, your questions.
This virus doesn't really care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian or a Green Party, if you're male, female, young, old. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. You can have all the money in the world and you can still get this. You can be wearing your mask every day, washing your hands every day. Yeah. You're still if you're going out and you're being exposed to big groups of people, you're still at risk for getting COVID.
Yeah, and the thing about it is I know to a lot of people a mask is a political statement. Mm-hmm. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's not a bash or a trash. It's just the way it is for a lot of people. And
it's not meant to oppress anybody. It's not meant to take away your civil liberties. It's not meant to. It's just meant to protect you and to protect others.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and I made it a little analogy earlier, as a joke, if I want to hurt myself, I'll ride my motorcycle in the rain. It'd be my choice, right?
Right. Don't go out and make my decision for me.
But, just like that, I've ridden motorcycles my whole life. Mm-hmm. I've probably got over 1 million miles on 2 wheels, and I've ridden all over the United States, and I've always worn a helmet.
That was going to be my question. Did you wear protective gear?
Even when I drove through states like South Carolina, where there's no helmet law, I still wore a helmet. And even though I've never actually wrecked a bike in my entire life, and like I said, I started riding when I was 12. My dad bought me a little 50cc Rupp. It offered me an extra layer of protection. And although I've never needed it, I've never fallen off a motorcycle, never wrecked a motorcycle, I wore it because it gave me that extra protection just in case. And I think that, I look at a mask the same way. No one likes wearing them. They're uncomfortable. They're not very good looking, except for our Radio Chiriqui mask.
Oh yeah, I
which
love
by
this
the way
mask.
is a fashion statement.
Not a political statement.
Right. They do offer that extra level of protection that could mean the difference between getting it or not.
Right. Nobody said that it's going to work 100%. Nobody said that it's going to keep every single germ from flying out of your mouth, getting into the air.
Right.
But it keeps it closer to your own space, your own personal space, especially if you're distancing. That's why we say, yes, wear the mask as well as distance. It's not just because the masks don't work. No, they do work.
Yeah,
but
it's a combination.
The combination is so much better. It's kind of like saying, okay, for those of us that have to take calcium, calcium works, but it's so much better if you take it in combination with vitamin D to help absorb it a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you sometimes have to mix 2 antibiotics together to get somebody better because they have a combination of bacteria. Same thing, wearing a mask and distancing is going to help protect you a little bit better.
And washing your hands.
And washing your hands. And everybody should have been washing their hands anyways.
I know. If you hadn't been washing your hands before the virus, you need to rethink your personal hygiene habits.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. How many people said, well, I never used to get home from going out to the store or whatever and wash my hands, or I never used to wash my hands before preparing a meal or something like that. That shocked me.
Yeah, it's really funny though, because, and this may seem off the wall, but whenever I would go into like a public bathroom or a bathroom at one of the offices I used to work at, going down the hallway, you see 3 or 4 people coming out of the bathroom, and then you get to the door, and then there's other people coming out of the bathroom, and then when you go in the bathroom, there isn't a drop of water in the sink. I'm like, these 5 people I just saw come out of the bathroom just did not wash their hands, and then I'm looking for them throughout the rest of the day, especially if it's at a workplace, and I don't want to shake their hands, I don't want to touch something. Here's a pen, no thanks. I'll write with my blood.
Here's half of my ham sandwich if you're hungry. No, thank you.
Yeah. But to have, and the thing that I think is ironic, and no, I don't call it karma. I don't wish this on anybody. Even people that I'm not particularly fond of.
Right.
I have a respiratory condition to begin with, and I know that when I have a bad day, especially the fact that I smoke, that's like one fraction of what someone who has this is going through.
Right.
It's extremely uncomfortable for me. I can't even fathom what it must feel like, and that's wishing that someone dies from something,
right.
or suffers from something.
Yeah, nobody, please do not, if you're going to call in, please do not call in saying you're glad he got it, or you hope something happens to him. One, respect the offices of the president, always.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still your president, whether you agree with the policies or not.
Yeah.
You respect the office.
You respect the office, yeah. And as, both of you and I are military. In fact, let me see if I got this here.
Both of us are military? Oh, nice.
And
hoorah.
I know, right? It's ironic that, the president had I wouldn't say but had a consistent opinion and I guess a narrative of not wearing the mask.
Right.
And had made fun of people from wearing the mask.
Right.
Even up to including the debate, when he made comments about Vice President Biden's mask. And, to have a positive test, I gotta wonder what must be going through, and not just his head, but the people out there who really are adamant about, I don't need to wear a mask, it doesn't work, or
right.
looking at
and
old
I've gotten
information.
I've gotten ridiculed for wearing 2 masks when I'm at work. Saying, oh well, then that means one doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, it's my own personal decision to keep the more expensive mask that I have underneath to keep it clean so I can wear it longer.
Well, it's like, having seatbelts and an airbag.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not.
And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell people, oh, good for you, because no, not good for you.
No.
But I just hope it's kind of a wake-up call.
Yeah, I hope it shows that, you can get sick if you don't wear a mask. You can get sick if you decide to gather in large groups. He took the decision and he seemed pretty sure of himself, and that's fine. Everybody has a right to their own opinion, their own decision, how they want to do this. But here in Panama, we don't have that decision to make. It's already been made for us.
Yeah.
So we have to follow the guideline. Now, in the States, it depends on each state, county, city, whatever.
Yeah, municipality. It's
right.
Their local decisions. And, on the one hand, you say to yourself, or as I say to myself, I'm not a big fan of censorship. I've been in news broadcasting for decades, and I'm not a fan of wide reaching or what might seem like government overreach. But when it comes to the health and safety and general welfare of the nation, then you really, I think that those decisions should be done on a national
I'm just surprised
level.
at how many people just are opposed to wearing it, not because it may or may not protect you, but more because of the political aspect of it now. You know, it's like, forget about the political aspect. Just think of your health.
And the health
and
of
the health of those around you.
Those around you.
Yeah, because
know.
Trump, as we know, he's got risk factors.
Yeah,
his age, his weight, and
his
whatever
gender,
other medical comorbidity he might have going on with him. We're hoping he has a smooth course and recovers quickly.
Yeah.
But the fact is that due to his age and due to his being clinically obese, he is at a higher risk, and I think he's at about a 4% higher risk of being hospitalized and having a worse
case scenario.
go on.
You
there.
know, you think 4% is a little number, but you know, from the medical. You know,
we're talking within his actual age group and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it's not. We're not talking about we are talking overall in the entire population, but you know, 4% within his age group and his everything. He might look like a strong man, seem like a strong man, have a healthy immune system, but that doesn't mean that this can't bring him down.
Yeah, and there's a plethora.
I like that word.
It's a good word.
That's a good word.
There's a plethora of accounts out there in the medical community. Particularly, I have most of my family are in Italy, and you know, they had a hard time a while back. You know, and one of my cousins is an ER doctor, and you see people coming in, and these aren't just stories off the news. These are conversations I've had, personal conversations I've had with family. People would come into the hospital with very, very mild symptoms. You know, maybe a cough, maybe a headache, maybe, you know, a little congestion. And, you know, 72 hours later, they're intubated.
Yeah.
And these are people who are health conscious. You know, you look at their medical records. One of my family members was telling me this guy came in. He was in his late 50s, maybe about my age, 57, 58 years old. A health nut, ate right, you know, had a good physique, you know, was proper fit, and he died. 6 days later, he was dead.
It's amazing.
So, you know, it's like you said, just because you might appear to be strong, you might appear to be healthy, there's no guarantee. You know, obviously, you know,
we don't know what other thing is underlying in our own bodies, even, especially if you're not going to the doctor and getting your checkups done and that kind of thing.
Then you mentioned earlier hypertension.
Hypertension is a big one.
I'm not aware of any official diagnosis of President Trump having hypertension, but just the nature of the office of the president on its own is going to.
And him being kind of a type A personality, I would have to say he's kind of type A, and that probably would contribute to him becoming hypertensive.
We've all seen the pictures, you know, of the president on Inauguration Day, and then, you know, 4 years later, it seems they've aged 20 years. You know? And it does have an effect on your physiology, and you take all that into account. You know,
you're not exercising well, you're not eating well, you're up all night, you're
sleeping.
traveling.
There's a lot on your mind. I mean, you have literally the weight of the world on your shoulders.
You do. Especially, I think, you know, the U.S. presidency is probably one of the worst jobs that you can take, you know, as far as that goes, the stress, the psychological aspects of it. But also, his age and his weight might indicate that he could be a hypertensive patient as well.
Could be,
as I said, we're just speculating here. We don't know, but he could have another factor added. Now, we've had 90-year-old patients with diabetes and hypertension and cancer get over COVID, been sick, hospitalized, did okay, and were released.
Sure.
It's not to say that just because you do have these underlying conditions that you're going to have a worse course of the disease or die, but there is a higher probability
absolutely.
that you will.
Absolutely.
Now, he's the president of the United States. He's going to get the absolute best care available anywhere.
Sure.
I'm
not aware of anyone else being airlifted to a hospital.
Yeah. Not unless you're in a severe accident or, you know. But he is at Walter Reed. As we know, they brought him over to Walter Reed as a precaution. They didn't say that he'd gotten worse or anything. He was showing signs of a runny nose, of a cough, of fever, low-grade fever.
Yeah, low-grade fever. Yeah.
And, you know, although they have their own little hospital wing inside the White House for whatever treatment, emergency or whatever, they have a much better team set up for 24-hour vigilance of the president. He'd have his own little wing or his own little floor there. He'll have, you know, many nurses. They'll have at their fingertips all the specialists needed that can come in right away or do video conferencing to evaluate different aspects of his health, his heart, his lungs, his, you know, whatever's going on. They can bring them in from any of the specialty hospitals in the States.
Yeah, in the DC
just
area,
like that.
So, yeah, that's very true. And, you know, that's, I mean, I'm glad that, you know, someone has access to that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, you know, most of the people don't.
Right.
You know, and we talked a little bit about that earlier before the show about that the availability and access to the proper medical care.
Right.
There's a lot of people that don't have it. They just can't. They don't have it,
and most, even the small rural hospitals don't have all the equipment necessary,
right,
all the medications necessary. They have to substitute medications.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, a lot of patients are coming out of this in debt.
Oh yeah, well that's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show, not to be covered here, but. But yeah, the president, obviously, with the position he's in, being an important part of the country, being the head of the country,
right?
They have to keep him as well and healthy as possible.
Well, this is probably the most serious medical condition that a president has had since Reagan got shot.
Well, there was a president. Was it Wilson that had the?
Well, since Reagan, yeah, Wilson, I think.
The Spanish flu?
I think so, yeah.
The Spanish flu, I believe.
Yeah, but in
recent
modern
times,
within the last 50 years, you know, when Reagan got shot,
that was a scary time.
Yeah,
that was definitely a scary time.
And he didn't invoke the 25th Amendment,
right?
Not officially,
right?
You know, but he did give the vice president, you know, temporary powers for about 8 hours,
right?
You know, but
and this remains to be seen. What's going to how this course of his President Trump's illness is going to occur. Now he's getting they gave him a dose of remdesivir, which is an antiviral drug.
Yeah. Now that hasn't been FDA approved yet.
Though. No, it's still in trials. It's still in trials, but its action is thought to prevent the virus from replicating. Okay. The virus that he already has in his system is to keep it from replicating. Now they also gave him monoclonal antibody therapy, which is also still in trials. It's not out for everybody yet. And what it is they kind of take the convalescent plasma. They find the antibodies of the types of virus or the types of this particular virus that are causing the worst symptoms. And they take those two and they kind of replicate them, and then they introduce them into the body as if it were a vaccine almost.
Right.
And what this does is it prevents the virus from continuing to take over the body's cells. It kind of eliminates the spikies of the virus so that it cannot,
right?
that it cannot get into the cells. And that's still in a trial period as well. So they're it's got a two-pronged approach with the president. Stop the virus from replicating and have it flushed out of the system quicker and to stop it from continuing to attack the cells. So hopefully he'll also have a shorter course of the illness.
Yeah, well, there's also other things he's taking too.
Right.
In addition, I mean, vitamin D.
Vitamin D, which is... Vitamin D, they're using the vitamin D. They found, especially people that are deficient, and they found this years and years ago, that when it's a person is deficient of vitamin D, they tend to have a worse lung infection. The lung infection can be worse or even deadlier if you're deficient in the vitamin D. We don't exactly know what role it plays in immunity, but it does seem to help if you're deficient to add vitamin D.
Yeah, but you know, it's not a cure.
It's not a cure, and it's not a prevention.
There's
It's
one of those things that's out there that says, hey, you don't need anything, just take vitamin D, just take vitamin C, just take a B12 complex,
Right, and that's not
eat
really...
Captain Crunch cereal, whatever.
Oh, that's a good one. I'd like that.
That's one of my favorites. I had that for breakfast this morning.
Oh.
But don't tell my doctor I'm diabetic. She'll get very mad at me. But and that's the thing, though. There's a lot of let's say evidence-free opinion on what is going to cure this disease. That there isn't even a cure for it. But when you look at over the past year, maybe 6 months, 5 to 6, 7 months, half a year, where the president has been consistently advocating for untested and scientifically unproven, not just hydroxychloroquine. Right. There's been so many things out there, but
he's not the only one advocating. There's also groups of doctors, groups of nurses, groups of unqualified people as well.
Yeah, and and it's not to say that maybe these things haven't had some success with individual people based on their physiology and their...
Or they might have been going to get better anyways. They might not have been showing symptoms anyways. We don't know.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we can use right now. There's trials, but there's small studies, but the studies are so small at the moment, and they're not really what we'd call really valid studies. Even if they're peer reviewed, you might have 10, 15 patients,
right? And
that's just not enough.
No, it's not a widespread, widespread study, and it's not, and it's peer review. I think a lot of people misunderstand what that means. And it's not just in the medical field. In every field of science, that peer review is very important, and it's almost like a quadruple blind study mixed in with the equivalent of 100 years of research, coming up with hypotheses, testing, retesting, and finally, somewhere down the road you get a theory. And then you test that theory over again.
And over, and if you start getting the same results, but just doing it once.
It's a complicated process, and we need those little studies. Obviously, those are going to lead to bigger studies, but
they're important.
It's kind of ironic that you have an entire group of people, who are basing their health, their personal health, and the health around them, around political ideology instead of the actual science and the actual medical research. I don't understand.
Nobody's saying it doesn't work. Nobody can say right now that it does work yet.
I know that when I get sick, whether it's something mild or whether it's something serious. I've had a couple of serious things. The last thing I'm thinking about is politics. I'm thinking about I need to get better, and what's the most efficacious way, and what is the most tested and reliable way for me.
What works for me too, what have you tested over the years that works for you? Is it vitamin C that gets you better quicker? Maybe. Maybe for some people they feel like it gets them better quicker. Is it just taking a mixture of antihistamines and Tylenol if they've got a cold? Is that what's going to make them feel better? A virus is going to run its course no matter what. There's not a whole lot we could do to speed up getting better if you've got a virus. We don't have antibiotics for a virus. It's not like getting a urinary tract infection, which is bacterial, and taking an antibiotic, and 2 days later you feel so much better. Or 1 day later even sometimes. A virus has to run its natural course. It's not as easy for us to get rid of as a bacteria is.
Sure.
They're so strong and they're so sneaky.
No, there's no doubt about that. The thing about it is with, when someone has something wrong with them, whether, like I said, whether that you don't know what it is, you just don't feel right.
Right.
Or if you know what you have, okay, I've got the flu. I've gotten the flu 5 times in my life. I know it's the flu.
I know what it is, and I know what is going to happen.
The issue with these untested drugs or these drugs that like, and again, I'll bring up hydroxychloroquine because everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it, and everybody's probably thinking it already.
It's not, no one ever said that it didn't work, it wasn't effective,
right.
blah, blah, blah. The main thing is that you need to have a physician
right.
Prescribe this. You need to be under a doctor's care. You need to have this regimented by someone who's trained to do it. So it was never the fact that I've taken hydroxychloroquine for 30 years. I've traveled around Central and South America. I've gotten malaria. Blah blah blah. It's not that. To me, it means that okay.
Let's not rush out.
I'm not going to go order a whole box of it from an online pharmacy, or from the guy down the street who knows a guy, right? And start taking medication without having a doctor tell me, okay, I know your medical history, I know your physiology. Here's what I believe to be the best dose for you. Because overdose
it all depends on other medications you're taking, underlying health conditions. Yeah. Yes, it is a very safe drug for many, many people, and it's been used for many, many years. Yeah. There are a select few that can have bad side effects from it.
Sure.
There's definitely medications that you should not be mixing it with. So that's why we say go to your doctor. Don't just start popping it. Most doctors are going to say, okay, you don't have risk factors. You're not taking certain medications that are going to interact with it. Yeah, if you think that you want to try it and you think it's going to help you heal quicker, we can give it to you.
Yeah, because
as
there's
a trial, but we're going to monitor you.
We're going to monitor you, yeah. Well, every time I've had a change in medication, it's always been come back in 10 days.
Yeah.
Come back for a follow-up in 10 days.
I try not to do changes of medication over a weekend.
I know, right?
Because that's when everything happens, and that's a little bit harder to resolve if you're going into, especially a holiday weekend or a long weekend, you don't want to make big changes.
Or a curfew weekend.
Or a curfew weekend here. Yeah. Just to remind everybody, we are taking your calls or even WhatsApp by what was I saying?
WhatsApp 6729-5729.
Thank
we
you.
want to hear from you.
Again, that number is 6729-5729. Please call in. Now, the other aspect of this is, so we have people that are sick now, and they've been in contact with other people.
Right.
So around the president's immediate circle, they're doing contact tracing.
Yes.
This contact tracing will just tell, who we need to look for that may get sick.
Right.
And to keep an eye on. Now, these people obviously should probably be quarantining themselves until make sure they're not getting symptoms, until they need to get tested, or maybe they've already been tested. I don't know what their policy is. But a lot of people in the president's immediate circle have tested positive, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, USA Today, amongst others, is kind of keeping a running total of the people who were surrounded by the president over the last 48 hours or so.
And this is just to show how contagious this virus really is.
So you've got, obviously, President and the First Lady, and we know about Hope Hicks. But just recently, you had Bill Stapien, his campaign manager, the chairwoman of the Republican National Convention, 3 senators, one from Utah, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, 3 White House reporters, an unnamed White House staffer, Kellyanne Conway, and John Jenkins, who's the president of Notre Dame University. And these are the ones that have just come out.
Right. There's going to be more fallout from it. There's going to be more fallout. So you can only imagine if you decide to go. Remember that biker rally?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember how many thousands came up positive after that.
It was a lot. The one report said 250,000, but that was later found to be grossly, overstated. I think it was closer to about 50 or 60,000. Still a lot of
somewhere
people,
around there. But there was like 250,000 that went or more.
Yeah.
But this just,
and I've been to Sturgis, by the way.
Oh, okay.
There is no social distancing.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, and a lot of them said no masks. We're not doing masks.
Yeah.
The justification for that is that, well, there's only you've got a 99% survival rate. Well, it's actually a little bit lower than that, but true. But they're not thinking, okay, this virus is causing so many weird things, and it's causing permanent damage to lungs, heart, kidneys. It's causing little blood clots. So these things, we don't know how long lasting these little problems, not little problems, these big problems are going to have, what kind of effect they're going to have on the U.S. healthcare system afterwards. I mean, the sequelae could overwhelm the healthcare system for years to come.
Well, look at what happened. There was a study out a while back, and I don't know why it has disappeared from the news cycle. Well, I have a pretty good idea why it disappeared from the news cycle, but you had a lot of young children that were ending up with Kawasaki disease.
Or something similar to Kawasaki,
Something similar to Kawasaki disease.
Which is inflammation of the blood vessels.
As a result of this. You have other reports of people who were otherwise healthy before, and even though that the virus has run its course, now they have inherent heart problems, they have respiratory problems, some of them have had memory problems, some of them have mobility issues. So
taste issues, smell issues.
So you don't know, like you said, what's going to... It hasn't been around long. Like, by now, we know what happens with smallpox. It's been 65, 75 years,
This is very young virus. This is a very young virus. So you're correct. We don't know what kind of effect it's going to have in the future on our healthcare system. This is something that's going to turn into an annual type thing, probably, once we get a good vaccine or good treatment.
Right,
like a cold, like a flu season.
It is a coronavirus. Yeah. And, it's the 19th, the one from, not the 19th one, it's the one from 2019.
Yeah, there's like 7 or 8 others out there, something like that.
That affect humans.
Affect humans.
Yeah, and,
this is very new one.
And, one of the things that I was looking for, because, I follow this as pretty much everyone knows. I probably have so many people that unfollow me on Facebook because all I post is news. But, and I understand, no problem. But
don't worry, they're probably not listening here either.
I follow all of these stories, and especially with a lot of attention to COVID-19. I've lost 28 family members that have died from this in Italy.
That's amazing. I'm so sorry.
And, and thank you. And I've had, friends that my mother-in-law in a nursing home in Georgia came down with COVID-19. It had almost killed her. It didn't kill her. She's fine now, but she got to the point where she developed pneumonia.
Right. Which is
72 years old, dementia patient, right? Other family members, were hospitalized. And so I keep an eye on this. And, one of the things I was really looking for with the debate, I wasn't looking particularly at, the topic of the economy.
Right.
It doesn't really affect me. I get a Social Security check, right? So it doesn't really affect me. But the things that I really wanted to find out what Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden were planning on doing moving forward was on COVID-19.
Exactly. I tuned into it for that.
We ended up with a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And nobody won. Nobody
won. Nobody learned anything from it.
And that's the thing,
It just turned out to be like an MMA, no holds barred.
People say, who won the debate? I had calls yesterday that said they believe that Vice President Trump won the debate. I had one guy call said he believed that Vice President. I just said Vice President Trump, didn't I?
Yeah, I think
Vice President Biden.
Biden and President Trump.
Another one said that he thought President Trump won, but the American people lost. We lost because we didn't get
to hear anything.
There was no information.
There was just jabs on either side. It was just jabbing the other one.
I learned nothing, and I know that and I said I know that you can look at the news and you get the little 60-second sound bites and the 30-second quips and blurbs, but you want to hear it from, especially in a setting where you have both candidates face to face, so to speak.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's going to be able to take place again.
And some people are saying, well, Trump's strong. He'll be fine. The next debate's in 15 days, and he'll be there. And I hope he's okay. I don't want him to die. I don't want him to. To get...
The country does not need that kind of chaos. They don't need to open themselves up to being vulnerable like that. If we lose a president, what happens next?
Well, then we get paid.
So close to an election.
Well, and that's, you're in uncharted territory there. And that we could do a whole show about that.
Yeah.
Because if the worst happens and and Trump does succumb to this virus before the inauguration, and Vice President Pence ends up taking over, no one knows what happens on Inauguration Day, because it's unlike places like the UK where you vote for a party.
Yeah.
Well, the next guy in line gets it.
Yeah.
But
they'd have to have some kind of special election, I would assume, or would it be Nancy Pelosi? Who would it be?
Well, nobody knows, because you have the conflagration of a sick president, a vice president who's not on the ballot, and the election will take place. It has to. The elections have taken place through every war, the Civil War, World War II, through the Spanish flu. It's people who say they're going to push the election. You can't.
Right.
That's not going to. You need a congressional. It's easier.
Yeah, because we don't vote for the vice president.
Right.
The vice president is named by the presidential candidate.
As part of the ticket. Yeah.
So that person
no one
doesn't
knows
really.
What happens.
That person really can't take over as president
after
an election.
After inauguration. No.
Yeah.
So you don't really know, and that's assuming if
something happens. Yeah, we're not
something
saying
happens.
Yeah.
So
he seems to be doing okay.
We want to make sure that the government stays intact. Whether you like the guy sitting behind the Resolute desk or not, doesn't matter. We want to make sure that the government stays intact as far as a functioning government goes.
Yes,
so
you need
sitting there and saying, oh, I hope he dies, or I hope he gets sick.
That doesn't help anything.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Even saying it's karma, it's you know what? He didn't ask to get it. He didn't prevent himself from getting it, but he didn't ask to get it.
It is ironic. I think there's a certain amount of irony to it,
but he had to know sooner or later that he.
Well, he had told Bob Woodward asked him, you worried about getting the Rona, and he said no. He said, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. But again, like we talked about
I understand
earlier,
wanting to promote confidence and saying don't be scared. Let's get this country running again. But you should also be promoting things to slow down the spread.
Yeah. I'm not going to turn the light off on the lighthouse because I don't want to panic the ship that they're about to hit an island.
Right.
So
you still have to take precautions, but you can say go back to work, but you're going to have the desks spread apart. You're not all going to go eat in the cafeteria or the lunchroom or whatever. Yeah. You're going to eat at your desks. You're going to wear your masks while you're here.
Well, it's going to be years, I think, before what we used to consider normal.
Yeah.
And that's not even in the States. I mean, look at here. I was talking to my wife last night. We were talking about, a friend of ours, who's wanting to move to a city like Panama City. There's a little more excitement. There's a little more to do.
And more open right now.
And there's more open right now. But even here, when you look back to last year, all the events, all the live music, the shows. Mike Weber, who has a show, by the way, on Monday. Mike, too. Friday and
Fridays and Mondays. It replays on Monday.
On Monday, yeah. But he would have the dance party at Big. I hosted karaoke there forever. There's live music everywhere. I mean, there's.
Oh yeah, the restaurants here used to have Mike's.
Global Grill. You can start off at Mike's and you can listen to some music there, have a drink, walk up the street to Big Daddy, stop in there, sing some karaoke,
the beer house or beer.
Go up to the brewery and watch some live music.
Yeah,
it's going to be quite a while before that comes back. And as a musician, that's that sucks. I mean, I hate
we do
it,
have some artists here in Boquete that are doing online shows.
Yes, there are.
Tim Connolly that does his.
Oh, Tim, man, he's amazing guy. If you have not heard Tim's. And he calls it something. Oh, Tim, I'm sorry if you listen. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, happy hour
rock thing or another.
Yeah,
but he
does
it live.
Tim.
He does it live, and it's very entertaining.
Yeah, no, he does a great show, and I believe it's on Saturday afternoons.
I think he does it on Saturdays. Yeah, but
can't remember. But yeah,
it's if we understand that this is a process, it's going to take a while. Maybe, hopefully, that would give more of us. The reservation that, okay, look, we'll wear the mask. That's why I think, this may be a wake-up call for some people. The President of the United States has got the coronavirus and he's in the hospital. Maybe we need to quit politicizing it and putting it in the channel that it belongs in, which is in the medical channel. Let the doctors handle it.
Let the doctors get out there and let it be one message.
Yeah. And if
Don't
the doctors,
give the mixed messages.
Right, if the doctor says, wear the mask. then okay, this is what's best for me. And I know there's a lot of people. You ain't both the boss of me. You ain't telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And okay, if you live on an island by yourself, fine, but you interact with other human beings.
And I understand the point. Why do we have to wear masks if we're alone in our cars? Why do we have to wear masks if we're alone in our cars with our own families?
Right.
And it's more probably to get you into the habit of wearing a mask. It's more, also if you get stopped by a cop or if you stop to talk to somebody, you open up your window, you've been breathing into that car, virus is going to come out. You could infect somebody else if you happen to be asymptomatic in your car traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
But, and why can't we go to the beaches? Why can't we go to the rivers? It's not that, you're more at risk to catch it at a beach or a river. That's true because you're outdoors.
Yeah.
But people don't tend to go by themselves to the beach or to the rivers. They go in groups and they're not going to wear a mask at the beach or at the river, and they're going to want to be eating and drinking and partying. And
well, you also have movement on the beach too. I mean, even if the beach isn't crowded, and I read a story. I think it was the Harvard Medical Review. It was a while back. Someone had posed that question. Well, you're out in the open, and they had a very good presentation on what happens in a beach environment when somebody with COVID is running down the beach.
And exhaling because they're breathing in and out more rapidly and deeper breaths.
But also, it's the as they say here, the agglomeration.
Yeah.
Of people in the parking lots and the bathrooms, and it's not just no one just goes to the beach and never sees anybody. And if you're out there now saying, well, the beach is behind my house and there's never anyone there, if you give it's the salvoconducto dilemma.
Yeah.
All right. If you give one person in a province a pass.
Right.
So okay, well, your stretch of beach is okay because it's behind your house or whatever.
Yeah.
There are no private beaches in Panama.
No,
nobody
they don't
owns
exist.
Yeah,
nobody owns
so
the beach.
then where does that end? Then what if your neighbor says, well, I want my beach. I want to be able to go to the beach here. So
or I'm going to invite my friends over, and it's my house, and it's my beach, so I can invite whoever I want to my little particular haven there.
And we may not have an abundance of cases here in Boquete, although I understand
over 100 cases right
that we
at the
have
moment.
a lot now. But when you
they're
compare,
going up again.
You compare it to like Pedregal or the places down in the southern part of the county. From the way it was explained to me, and this, like I said, I have not been able to verify this, but the way it was explained to me by people that I know that work for the Panamanian government. The local mayors, alcaldes and alcaldes, have a certain amount of authority within their districts, but they don't have the authority to make decisions that are reserved for the Ministry of Health.
Right. No.
However, the governors of the provinces have a little more leeway,
right,
but they don't have the authority to pick and choose. So you say they got the governor of Chiriqui is told by Minsa, okay, well, you have a huge problem here in Alto Kiel, and you have a huge problem in Pedregal, and you have a huge problem at,
Jaramillo, Palmira, Bajo Boquete.
Yeah, so you have to. We're going to keep your entire province has to be on lockdown. Right. You can't keep Boquete open and close.
And you see that our numbers are climbing up and getting as bad as Chorrera. Chorrera is a much smaller province, granted, but it has a much higher population too.
It's more condensed. Yeah,
it's more condensed. But we're creeping up to their numbers, and they were considered the problem province.
Yeah. And if you're upset still that we're still on the weekend
and the curfew,
Arellán just now dropped their dry law, so be thankful, okay? We're ahead of them at least, right? I did that yesterday.
And it's not forever either. I mean, I can live with 7 p.m. curfews. I don't care.
Yeah.
I can live being locked down on weekends.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's not fun. It's not, you want to have the freedom to go out if you need to go to the store or just go out on a walk.
Yeah, and the restaurants that have reopened. They're adapting. Their full menu is available at between noon and 6 instead of, well, we're only going to serve lunch. You can't have dinner.
Right. No.
So they're adapting.
And they're still doing deliveries.
Yeah, the markets, the Tuesday markets open. We had Phil Bennett and Jan Thompson on from the Tuesday market on my show.
And they're taking all the precautions that they can.
Yes, everything. So It's a process. It's a slow process.
And I know people are saying, well, we've been able to go to supermarkets and we can go to hardware stores, but they're still keeping us in on weekends, and they're still not letting us go to the beach. You know, certain things are necessities. You do have to buy food.
Sure, you have to buy food.
Hardware, you can't have a roof leak. You can't, what if happens if your toilet breaks?
Take it from someone whose sink drain had collapsed.
Exactly, and my septic system, so you have to have certain things available to you, because otherwise it becomes a health risk too. Not having running water in your house, health risk.
Or
having a backed up septic system.
Standing water,
Standing water, health risk, because of our problem here with the mosquitoes and with dengue.
Yeah, well, and people think, dengue only happens in the Darien.
No,
there's been an outbreak, a mini outbreak in David a couple of months ago. I was reading about it. I'm like, I didn't even know that was here.
Yeah, and Zika and whatever other chikungunya.
We are in a tropical climate.
Right. So, and these things have not stopped occurring. People say, well, now it's everybody gets sick from COVID and everybody dies from COVID. There is no heart attacks, no cancer, no nothing. Nobody's dying from it.
No, life as such as it is goes on.
No, that's very untrue. I've had all of the above. It's not. There are other things going on. They are dying. Patients are dying from other things.
And they're getting other things. Yeah, I had cancer surgery in the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly.
I mean, things still happen. Life still goes on.
People still get their blood sugar out of whack. They get their. No, not talking about you specifically.
Guilty.
Blood pressure shooting up, anxiety. I've had a lot of patients with anxiety come in, blood pressure problems, sugar problems, suspected heart attacks, and a little bit of everything we've been getting. So it's not that the other things, yes, we're only hearing about COVID because it's
it's a pandemic. That's kind of going to kind of take a top, let's say, above the fold approach in the news cycle.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not just hitting, like I said, it's not just hitting certain communities, certain people. We got an entire football team that's being quarantined at the moment.
The Tennessee Titans, just like they're up to almost a dozen, I think, people
or more. I thought I read something like 17 players now, or was it 12? I don't remember. I don't want to give false information, but it's a lot.
I'm going to Google that while you're talking.
Okay, and so we've got their game is postponed. I can't remember who they were going to play against. So even though they're living in their little bubbles, they call them self-proclaimed bubbles.
Bubbles, yeah.
Just like the baseball players, just like the basketball players. But the basketball players also had a small outbreak, and I can't remember which team it was now. Because they broke the bubble.
They broke it. 16 members.
16 members of the
Titans organization. Yeah. 8 players and 8 staff members have tested positive for the virus. And
they're healthy for the most part. They have to.
They're healthier than me.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say they're not overweight. Some of them, they have to be big guys, but they should, in theory, be healthy because they're working out every day.
Right.
They're eating well. They're exercising. So, in theory, they should be extremely healthy players, and they're young.
Yeah.
So they should recover just fine. But that's not the problem. It's not the young people. It's the ones that you're bringing it to.
Yeah, bringing it home to. We're Day and I being very careful. I mean, we do go out, do our grocery shopping and trying to get as much done as possible. But we went to an unnamed grocery store yesterday, and at the outset it was okay. There was a line outside, and people were maintaining their distancing, and there was the person at the door with the alcohol and the temperature. But inside the store, it was like last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was jam-packed crowd. People were just up on top of each other, and that's
we don't recommend that. We don't recommend you go to a store if you see it's that busy.
Yeah, and you place the blame wherever you want. The fact is that your health now is on the line,
right,
and you have to eat, so...
But the majority of us don't need that extra item. The majority of us, and I'm not talking about necessarily the locals, but the majority of us can do our shopping Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Thursday.
Right.
And be able to get stuff that we need for the weekend. It's that forgotten item that sometimes we go back for, or, oh, I want to make a certain dish and I need a couple more ingredients for that certain dish. And you see that line. And I did the same thing yesterday. It was a Friday, and I was like, oh, no, I need mayonnaise and that kind of thing, you know. And you know that you're going to be using the mayonnaise over the weekend, and you really want to get it.
That's because we make that shopping list, and then we leave it on the counter and try to remember what's on it while we're in the store, you know. And yesterday, it just so happened that, you know, like a lot of people here, my Social Security check hit on a Friday. And that's our big shopping. We do our big shopping, right? And the stores were just, it was crazy. Traffic was crazy.
It's crazy.
The store people were jammed on the street. They were hanging out in front of the Mercado, the big market there, in large groups.
And why is it that we, and I'm talking about the expat community, insist on going together to the grocery store in pairs or in more? You know, I've known a lot of the locals, and I've met a lot of them, and I've talked to them in the clinics, and they tell me, you know, they designate one person. That one person does everything. That one person goes out, and everybody else stays home. So there's only one person that's putting themselves at risk.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that when we were doing the male-female thing, I was the guy who was responsible for grocery shopping. I was the only one who had, my wife doesn't drive, she doesn't have a driver's license. I'm the worst person
to go and do the
shopping.
To
go to the grocery stores. I've got a list, you know, eggs, produce, you know,
and what came
oranges,
home with you? Cookies and chips.
And I come home with Cheetos and Oreos and you know, whatnot. But now though, I'll drop day at the grocery store, and I'll sit in the car and wait. I don't need to be in there.
Yeah.
You know, after 30 years, she knows what I like and what I don't like. Right?
Sure, she's the one that should be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't. And
I'm guilty too. I'm guilty. I go with my husband, and I go into a store with him. You know. Yeah. I don't really.
You know, but fortunately for Day and I really have no desire to go in a grocery store. And she doesn't care if she never steps foot in a hardware store.
Right.
So, or a pharmacy. So I'll drop her off, then I'll go to my spots and pick her up. But yesterday was just a madhouse. It was just unbelievable. I hadn't seen the streets that crowded and stores that crowded and store fronts in front of stores since before, you know, before the pandemic.
Well, I had to go, and it was after 7, it was getting closer to 8, and I had to go see a patient. And I could not believe the line of cars in the checkpoint in Caldera.
Oh yeah.
It just looked like it was going down the hill forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, you know.
And it was after the curfew.
That's what I don't get. You know, I don't understand, because I live right on the main road. You know, I sit in my backyard and there's the main road.
Oh yeah, when I went into town, because I had to go to the office before going to see the patient.
Yeah, and it's Saturday, Sunday, it's like any other day, and I'm thinking, how many people have salvoconductos?
Exactly.
You know,
and really, they did start checking again. In town, when I went in, no, there was a guy on a motorcycle, a cop on a motorcycle. Yeah. He wasn't stopping anybody, but it was just after 7 probably. Yeah. But yeah, at the checkpoint, and I did see the cops at the checkpoint had quite a few cars pulled over.
Yeah.
So yes, they are still enforcing. They still are checking.
Down at the checkpoint.
Down at the checkpoint, and maybe up here at a certain area. Maybe they kind of give a little bit of a break for people that get off work a little bit later and coming up from David and that kind of thing. Yeah. Within reason that they might make it back late if they're getting off at 6 and there's that amount of traffic.
Or stuck at the checkpoint.
Or stuck at the checkpoint, yeah. Because really, and my patients don't, sorry about that. And my patients don't seem to have a problem getting in if they've got an emergency, getting into the clinic to be seen, which is good, because during the more strict quarantine, some of the patients were having trouble getting in. Yeah. No, I remember several of your patients are very close friends of mine. And I know what they had to go through to get there,
to get to you.
Yeah, and I started having to do, send emails and that kind of thing that they could bring in and show that, I've got an appointment, I have to go in, type of deal.
Oh, look who's here.
Yeah.
I could almost smell that pizza.
So I think So we have from Pizzeria Brasilerissimo.
Brasilerísimo. I think I finally got that right.
Yeah, did you get that? Aren't you an Italian background? You should have a little bit of a...
I am Sicilian, and even I have trouble with that. But I don't have trouble eating their food. Segue.
All yours.
That's the
Go
segue.
ahead. That's your
Spanish.
En español.
Está bien. Dele.
Buenos días, bendiciones a todos.
Buenos días.
Pizzería Brasilerísimo está abierto para atender y a servir en su casa las delicias de Brasil. Pizzas, pastas, carnes, pescados. Y en nuevo local, ya estamos en nuevo local, como 50 metros del local anterior para adelante, cerca del parque. Sí, la pizza vegetariana es muy rica. Y tenemos algunas pizzas nuevas también que estamos implementando, abriendo un nuevo menú.
So I'll just say what Al was doing over here. He was showing a vegetarian pizza that looks delicious that he got from Brasilerísimo. Is that fish sticks or is that chicken fingers?
Deditos pollo con papas. Chicken fingers and
chicken fingers with French fries. Al's got the entire menu on his phone.
Oh, they
here.
send it to me.
Yeah, they'll send you the menu, but Brasilerísimo will send you the menu by WhatsApp.
And specials, especiales. Especiales.
Su número de WhatsApp para
6546-5663.
Ahora en inglés.
6546-5663.
Yeah.
All right. So, you guys, the pizza is good.
Pizza's fantastic.
The chicken fingers are good.
Yes.
I tried those.
Yes.
The French fries are good. Just about everything I've tried from this restaurant has been excellent. So
and fast delivery.
Fast delivery comes hot to your home.
Delivery rapido. What, medio? Maybe 30 minutos.
Okay, so they get it to your house fast. They get it to your house hot. They're taking all the precautions.
Yes.
Can't go out today. You want to eat out. You don't want to cook at home. Brasilerísimo is available.
6546-5663. Every day, 11 p.m. 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. En nuestro nuevo local se puede visitar también en los días de semana de 11 de la mañana hasta las 7 de la noche para conocer y después del día 12 hasta más tarde.
Okay, so they're open for in-house dining from 11 to 7. And I understand they're taking all the precautions to keep you safe. Your decision, just take your precautions. And of course, if you've got health issues, stay home and just order out and they will bring it to you. And no risk in that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Muchas gracias.
Por nada. Bendiciones a todos e visita nosso local. E hoje está bom dia para pedir. 6546-5663.
Excellent day to order your food. And of course, tomorrow too. You're open tomorrow, Sunday, Domingo, están abiertos.
Sí.
You know, if you're going to be sitting there watching your football games or your soccer games, you know, and you definitely don't want to be distracted over the cooking, right?
No.
Get your pizza. Get your...
Pizza brasileña.
Yeah, get
pastas, carnes, pescados.
Sí, everything. Todos.
Y tienes una pregunta. Una persona en Florida quiere saber si entrega a Florida.
En Florida vai ter que visitar a Boquete ou podemos enviar por FedEx. Pode se congelar e enviar por FedEx. Há FedEx very fast.
There you go. There's your answer. You can get it by FedEx. She'll send it to you by FedEx. It'll be a little bit more expensive, the delivery, but it should get to you within 2 or 3 days. Well, thank you very much, Al. I appreciate you being on the show. I wish more people had called in and participated. Yeah. Maybe next time.
Maybe,
but
it takes getting used to.
It does.
You know, it takes getting used to. We had some calls yesterday. You called yesterday.
I called in
yesterday.
Yeah. Trying to get things started, get people to not.
Well, you know, these are community radio shows, right?
Yeah.
And this is your show, people who are listening. So we want you, both Shannon and myself on my show, we want you to be involved.
Yeah.
You know, call
Get
us.
involved in your community. What are your concerns? What are your questions?
If you
Don't
have
be
a comment
shy.
about something that even has nothing to do with the show, if it has something to do with, say, Boquete, you know.
Yeah, if you got a question out there, ask. You know, we won't give out your name if you don't want your name. Yeah. You know, I introduced myself to Al when I called in. I said, hey, this is Shannon. What's up? But yeah, we are here to serve the community.
Yep.
For whatever questions. You know, it makes it hard to do a radio station if we don't know a radio show if we don't know what your questions and concerns are.
Right.
So anyways, hopefully next time people will lose that
Shyness.
the shyness and not wanting to call in. So once again, this has been Talking with Your Doctor. I'm Dr. Shannon Tuer. I'm here with Al Stefanelli, and he has his own radio show on Fridays.
From 10 to 11. Boquete now.
From 10 to 11. And coming up on Monday, we have Cynthia and Barbara.
That's right.
On the air.
On the air.
And Barbara from 10 to 11. And then we have Mike Weber's show on Friday afternoons.
I think Friday at 2.
At 2 p.m. And then
it
repeats on Monday. Strange Brew.
Strange Brew, yeah. That's
really good music. Yeah. And Strange Brew. I'm having trouble with my mouth today.
Maybe it's the extreme fashion statement of these masks.
Oh, these are great masks. Get your Radio Chiriqui mask. This has been Talking with Your Doctor on Radio Chiriqui 103.3. Everybody have a great weekend. Have a great weekend.
Goodbye. Bendiciones a todos. God bless you.